Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Southbound Sports podcast. Today I'm once again talking with Maddie B, and we are breaking down the AFC and NFC Championship Games. Now, these conference championship games will take place 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, and I believe the Pro Bowl is in between. I think we hit on that a little bit. We discussed the lines. Matt had a perfect 4-0 pick on who was going to advance last week. I went 3-1. I missed on the Green Bay Packers. I had the Cowboys going, and that game went down to the wire. Now, updates on the podcast. We are starting to get picked up for syndication, and so there have been some tweaks on the audio. My personal intro might be a little bit worse because I'm not on my standard microphone that I use, but I think I got rid of some of the extra sounds on the video call that we recorded together. So hopefully we can get that going forward in the future, and we will be trying to get, actually we're not trying to get, but I'm going to be adding on a theme song and a theme outro to go with the podcast. And then I'm going to be adding on, hopefully, very soon in the future, a video component to the podcast since I syndicate it on YouTube. And I'm hoping that leads to some expansion in video and other formats to help bring a little bit more content to the site. So I'm going to be breaking apart the videos, though. I don't think the videos are going to be embedded in post. I would like to keep those separate, as I know how annoying it is when you go to see a sports site and the first thing they have is a video that they want you to watch. I'd rather have the videos separate and potentially break off into a shows portion of the site where you can see all the shows that we are doing. But since right now we only have a podcast and the potential video show, it's all going to be in one. So look forward to that. Here's a chat with Maddie B. And please subscribe, tell your friends. Follow us on Twitter, Southbound Sports without the O in sports. It's abbreviated. You can just go to southboundsports.com. We have all our social media links in the footer, so check that out there. I am your host, Richie Leahy, and here's my chat with Maddie B. All right, welcome back to Southbound Sports. Back here with Maddie B, who won a perfect 4-0 in his picks last week, so the pressure is on. We only have 2 games, the NFC Championship and the AFC Championship. Who do you like and why?
I'm going to start with the AFC, and I got to go with the Patriots. Even though hometown Steelers fan, I think the issues the Pittsburgh secondary has been having all season, I think that finally comes back to bite them. So I think the Patriots can score, and the Pittsburgh Steelers settle for field goals. I think that's finally going to hurt them, and so I think unfortunately I got to go with New England over Pittsburgh this week.
I think New England will win. I'm surprised that Pittsburgh had to have how many field goals? 6 field goals. I think that's all they scored, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. You would think that they would have been able to get into the end zone. They have explosive playmakers, Antonio Brown, and even Le'Veon Bell's back. So they're very balanced on offense. I just don't understand how the Chiefs were able to hold them, and I feel like that's going to go ahead and continue against New England.
Well, I think one of the things with the Chiefs, and the commentator, I think it was Collinsworth, actually said this. The Chiefs give up a lot of yards and stuff down the field, but then their actual scoring defense was 7th. And I think that was a really accurate statement because Pittsburgh would drive right down the field, get inside the red zone, and then stall out. Now, one of the issues that I think they had was if they were designed RPOs where Ben had the choice of handing the ball off or keeping it and throwing himself. He definitely wasn't handing the ball off, which I blame Todd Haley. It's shame on him for being down in the red zone and putting the ball in the air. With the amount of money that the Steelers invested in offensive line picks, they should have definitely just pounded the rock and let Le'Veon punch it in.
Yeah, I agree. I'm surprised. There were a couple of times where it looked like he had a crease and I thought he might break one, but he wasn't able to get that going. I thought it was very ballsy at the end of the game when they started to throw on that last series to get the first down. They needed to just salt the game away. What did you think of that?
It kind of surprised me. I think all year you watch Le'Veon run, and it just seems like, what are you waiting for? And I think for other younger running backs that maybe at the high school or college level that are going to try to emulate his style of running, they're potentially going to put themselves at risk of being hurt. Because the one thing that separates Le'Veon's running style from everyone else's is how quickly he accelerates. He can take the handoff and wait and let the block set up in front of him. And when he finally does decide to hit the hole, he's off and running very quickly through the hole, which is why you see wait, 5 to 7 yards at a clip.
Yeah, he's very patient in the hole, and that helps him with the blocking downfield. And I think that's why he's able to pick up so many yards after contact. And it's something that they're going to need against New England. Going back to the past weekend's games, Tom Brady, 2 interceptions in that game. He was pretty uncharacteristic. What do you think about New England's offense? I don't know if Mitchell's out again, but do they have enough weapons on their team?
It seems like just having Tom Brady is enough. I know earlier in the year the Patriots played the Steelers, and they ended up New England put 27 points on the board. They came out with the win. Even though Landry Jones isn't going to be quarterbacking this week and we're going to have Roethlisberger at the helm, I still think New England's going to score touchdowns. The question is, can Pittsburgh answer those? And I don't know. Based off of playing a tough Kansas City defense, they've showed that they really struggled to put the ball in the end zone. So if they can't, then I think it tilts in New England's favor.
Yeah, that's what I think it's going to come down to. Can Tom Brady keep the ball moving down the field, and can they control it and keep it out of Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell? Can they keep it out of their hands? In that situation, as long as Tom Brady doesn't turn the ball over, I feel confident that the Patriots are going to go back to the Super Bowl this year. They are 5.5 points favorite right now, early in the week, and I don't know. I think a lot of people are just going to be surprised that Pittsburgh made it this far.
Well, I actually think that they gave another point. I think it's at an even 6 right now. And the over-under went from 51 to 50.5 points, which for a championship game, that is a lot of points. So I definitely think this is going to be, being up in New England, cold weather game, I would be surprised if they score more than combined 50 points.
Yeah, I did see that's a pretty high line, especially if you go back just a few years ago. These are 2 teams that are built on defense, and they've kind of only recently started to spread it out. I think just because of some of the depth they lost over the years on defense, where they've became more of spread teams. And speaking of spread teams, that's what Atlanta's built on. And I see earlier today they were at 4.5 point favorites. I don't know if that's still the line. What do you think about that game?
I feel a lot more confident with this game. I think Atlanta has been really hot, not taking away from Aaron Rodgers' performance yesterday versus Dallas. He played lights out, but I just think the injuries that Green Bay has been experiencing over the last couple of weeks are finally going to come back to bite them.
I think the same thing, although I said the same thing last week. Green Bay, they did all they could to blow that game against the Cowboys. They had a big lead. They had the turnover late from Aaron Rodgers that I predicted, and then he got the ball back, and they had the ball last, and he was able to make an amazing sideline pass on what seemed to be a broken play. I thought he was just going to throw it up for grabs, but to keep that drive alive and to set up the game-winning field goal. So I don't know if I can actually count them out. I don't know if they'll cover. I feel Atlanta's going to make it to the Super Bowl, which not a lot of people would have picked at the beginning of the year. They have a lot of weapons. They have the spread offense down to a T in the NFL, at least as good as you can get in the NFL. With Devontae Freeman, he's able to run, that he can catch the ball out of the backfield. They have enough weapons now on the outside, and they have a great pass blocking tight end, and I think that makes a great difference too with some of the things they can do on offense.
And I agree with you 100%. I think we kind of hit on this last week in our preview. The thing that's really separated Atlanta this year from past years is that they're not a one-trick pony. They're not relying exclusively on Julio Jones. They have Gabriel, they have Sanu, they have some receivers that are making some plays. And I think the other thing that really tilts in Atlanta's favor this year is they've been relatively healthy. I know Julio has the toe injury that they're saying really isn't that big of a problem, and he was pulled during the Atlanta game towards the end. But it doesn't look like the injuries are mounting on them. Meanwhile, with Green Bay, it looks like Jordy Nelson's going to be out again. Devontae Adams could be out. With Balaga and a couple of the other linemen banged up, I think that how much more can the Packers take in addition to those guys, having Eddie Lacy out, having Starks out, and relying on a wide receiver as your running back. It's going to be a really tough thing for Green Bay to get over the hump and get to the Super Bowl.
I agree. I think that is going to be the X factor. Green Bay had a chance to put the game away. Dak Prescott threw it to what was their backup safety at the time, hit him right in the hands as he was driving for a touchdown after the starting safety went down, I think, in the game. So I just don't know. They can't have that much depth, and the way the NFL rules are set up, it's tough to find free agents at this time of the year who aren't unable to play just because of the way the contracts are set up. So I think that that's going to really hurt them. They have to be running out of bodies. Hopefully some of these guys can go, but I'm not sure. Devontae Adams, his leg injury seemed pretty bad. And when they had their left tackle ruled, I don't know if that was Balaga, but their left tackle went down in that game too, and that looked pretty bad.
Yeah, well, Balaga's on the other side, but he went down, and it just... I think that really is going to hurt them coming down the stretch, because I think winning teams run the football and stop the run, and I don't know if Green Bay is going to have that going forward.
Well, I was surprised at how well they were able to run it with their half wide receiver running back, just because they were able to utilize the short pass game well to spread it out and get him some open lanes on some run sweep passes or sweep runs. It's like the jet sweep. There were some plays where they didn't seem too comfortable, though. Like the one snap he caught, Aaron Rodgers barely even saw. I don't think they were ready for it. And a couple other handoffs they had where he almost dropped the ball on the jet sweep. And that's something to look forward to, or to look going into this game. I know they're inside a dome, so it's a lot better conditions. But are those things going to get ironed out? Because if this gets into the Super Bowl and you're just running out of chances, if you start to make mistakes, it's going to be hard to rebound, because now you're getting against very good, excellent teams on both sides of the ball.
One other thing that I think Dallas's secondary played outstanding. There were a lot of calls. They played physical, and the refs were allowing a lot of contact during the plays. At one point, I think Devontae Adams was yelling at the refs because his jersey was pulled off his shoulder pad and had part of it exposed, and there was no flag for pass interference called. And it was clear that he didn't pull his own jersey, that there was that contact, and the refs were just letting the receivers play, which I think sometimes they get too ticky-tack with the calls, but they were really letting them get away with stuff.
Yeah, I saw exactly the play that you were talking about. He was running down the sideline, and the ball was just slightly overthrown, and his shoulder pad was sticking out. I don't know how they didn't call it, because as he was running, you could see his shoulder pad pulled down, and it popped out, and the ref was right in front of it. They still didn't throw the flag. There were a couple other ones. One of the Packers hits on Cole Beasley across the middle of the field. He intentionally went high, which was textbook targeting, and he did almost a somersault. And that wasn't a flag, which threw me, because that's one of the initiatives that the NFL is looking for. They don't want safeties just flying in high. Even though he caught the ball and already made a move, you still need to tackle good with good form, because you don't want to hurt your neck if you're the defender. I think it might have even been the backup safety. I think he was a rookie out of Illinois, if I remember, or Indiana, one of those. But he has to have better form, and I'm just surprised at some of the things they did let go in that game. It was very physical, and that could take a toll on the team too, especially one as injured as Green Bay coming into this week. They also have the the short rest compared to Atlanta, who played on Saturday. I know, did you see the Steelers, Mike Tomlin? He put out, someone live taped his locker room speech where he was saying that he called the Patriots a bunch of assholes or something, and how they had the extra day of rest, especially because they had to play. I think he said they had an extra day and a half of rest, but they're still going to come hard at them. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't see that, but it kind of reminds me of when New England played the Eagles. As part of his pregame speech, he used it to fire up the team. He caught wind of what Philadelphia's plans were going to be for their parade after they won the Super Bowl, and that was his speech. He just read like how they were going to form and what streets they were going to go down, and New England's going to be ready. Pittsburgh's going to be in for a fight. I think they've played. This will be the fifth time, maybe sixth time. Let me just check here, but I know they've played a lot over the last couple years, and it's been it's come down to winner goes to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think this is like the next big rivalry now that Peyton Manning's out of the league that you're going to see on the AFC side of the ball, and I'm not surprised that it did end up these two teams. As long as Pittsburgh can keep beating the Ravens in the division and advancing into playoffs, and as long as Tom Brady is still in the league, I think these are the top two teams just depth-wise. And the way they're run at the top, they always have, they seem like they always have the players, they always rebound. There's no rebuilding with these two franchises.
Now, this is going to be the fifth time that they've played in the postseason, and New England's holding a 3-1 series lead, with Pittsburgh's win being in 97.
Okay, that was what, the Drew Bledsoe years, or somewhere in between?
Yes, it was Mike Vrabel when he was playing for Pittsburgh, had the strip sack against Drew Bledsoe. They ended up winning 7-6.
Yeah, wow. That's surprising. I guess the 3 wins came with Tom Brady at the helm, is what I'd imagine. Which is surprising because Ben Roethlisberger has been pretty clutch in these playoff games for the Steelers over the years, at least getting them to the game and having wide receivers on his team look better than what they are in hindsight once they start to go to these other teams and they're not as good once they leave Pittsburgh.
Right.
And speaking of good players, let's end it on this. What do you think, or who do you think is going to win the MVP this year? They have odds on Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, Le'Veon Bell, or Derek Carr.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think if it depends on where they're looking at. I think overall, I think you could sleep comfortably going with any of them. But I think given the amount of injuries he's dealt with, I think you got to kind of give it to Aaron Rodgers with the way that he's played the last couple weeks, dealing with the numerous injuries and still getting the pack as far as they have been right now. I think he's got to be your MVP.
Well, looking at the list here, Ezekiel Elliott will probably win Rookie of the Year, although I guess that could go either to him or Dak Prescott. Tom Brady's third in odds, and he missed the first 4 games. Not totally his fault. That was some NFL bullshit. But I'd say that eliminates him. Number 2, you have Aaron Rodgers, and they actually have the favorite as Matt Ryan. What do you think about that?
Again, you could flip a coin and be okay with either one of those guys. I think you win in the playoffs with great quarterback play. I'm not knocking Dak's performance for the Cowboys, but I think as a rookie, it's tough coming in when the coordinators have a lot of film that they can break down and analyze and come up with that game plan. Matt Ryan's been playing phenomenal football this year. His touchdown to interception ratio is really good. He's making the smart choices, and he's not forcing the ball like he has in years past, given Atlanta chances to score when they can. So I would be okay with him getting the nod right now.
I would like to see Matt Ryan win, especially because he helped me win our fantasy league. I drafted him for $2. So let's hope for him he can win it, just like he helped me win it. And with that, I'll say it's been good talking to you once again. Hopefully your picks hold, seem to be around on the same page again this week, and I think it's going to be setting up for some good matchups, but I think it's going to be clear that Atlanta and New England are going to be playing in the Super Bowl once this weekend's over. All right. Thank you for listening to Southbound Sports. Check us out. I'll be putting this up. We're still waiting to hear back if we're going to get on the podcast networks. I'll be tweeting out some links, putting it up online once we get live on iTunes, YouTube, and all of those. So keep an eye out. Make sure you subscribe and tell your friends. Thanks.